right, we are live. So today is going to be a little bit of a talk on the all or nothing mindset and a little bit of a unique perspective regarding this that I actually had a conversation with a client about probably like a week or two ago. She's one of those clients or people who really struggle with this all or nothing mindset where, like, if they have one day or one meal that's a little bit off, or they go over their calorie range, or they end up not hitting their step goal, or they end up not hitting their protein goal, or missing a workout, they get really, discouraged. But I would say maybe not even as much discouragement, but they just lose a lot of momentum. And they kind of fall into this trap of, okay, well, like, today's Thursday, I missed my goals. Oh, Friday rolled around, I missed my goals again. I might as well just kind of miss my goals Saturday and Sunday until my next check-in, on Monday or Tuesday, and then kind of restart the week there, right? Because with the formal client check-in, so one-on-one clients are able to text or voice message me all throughout the week any day if they need it, but there's kind of more formal check-ins that we do where we make adjustments to the plan and kind of review the past 7 days, and typically those are on Mondays and Tuesdays. So this client, she falls into the trap of having a few days maybe in the middle of the week that are a little bit off or kind of towards the end, and telling herself, okay, well, it's Thursday, Friday, and I already haven't had a great week as far as hitting my goals. So I only have like 2 more days left until my check-in. So, I'm just going to be okay with not hitting my goals the rest of the week, these last 2 or 3 days, and just kind of restart on Monday or Tuesday when I check in with Joey and be like, hey, last week was way off. I'm going to start fresh this week. And it's so easy for us to fall into that mindset because as humans, we like when there's like a start and an end date to something, and we like fresh starts. Like, fresh starts feel exciting, like the start of a new week or the start of a new month, or, with New Year's resolutions, the start of a new year. But it's important to realize that these like timelines or these dates or these weeks, they're all really arbitrary, and they really aren't even quote unquote real in a broad sense. So this conversation isn't really meant to be on this specifically, but like the days of the week, the weeks of the year, how many months out of the year there are. Like, just because we call Monday doesn't mean that Monday is actually Monday. And that might feel really weird when I say that. You're like, what the hell is Joey talking about? But like you think about leap year. Every 4 years, we add a day to the calendar, which then shifts the days of the week by some. And so theoretically, if we were to separate those 24 hours of that we're gaining extra in that year every 4 years, like what's Monday right now might actually not be Monday, and vice versa. So these dates are all like set by like somebody, I think, looking at the sky or measuring the rotation of the earth and it traveling around the sun or whatever. And like, they could be off, but it's just our best guess. So like these timelines, these dates, these new years, all this stuff is all just really kind of arbitrary of some, like, us humans putting it together. And it doesn't mean that there actually is a clear star. In our head, it feels like a clear star, but it's not actually in reality really there. Like, all time is just time, regardless of what day of the week we call it. And like another example is like somebody all the way, across the country, or not across the country, but across the world, on the other side of the world, because of time zones, it might be Monday for them, but it might be Sunday for you. So does that mean that you should put your goals on pause for 6 more hours? Because then it will be Monday for you, when technically it already is Monday for somebody else. Like, when you think about it this way, having that mentality of let me restart at the end of the week or the beginning of the week or the beginning of the month or the beginning of the year feels kind of silly. But the big thing I wanted to talk about with this is one day will not make or break your progress, but every day counts. And when I really thought about this and I heard this phrase, I don't even know where I first heard it. maybe this was like me saying it this way was the first way it's ever been said. Probably not, because there's so many people in the world. But when you really take that in, it really changes your perspective to where on one side of the coin, you realize, okay, if I have one day where I don't hit my step goal, one day where I overeat, it's not going to make or break your progress. Like if you have one day where you eat, 1,000 calories over your maintenance, you have multiple slices of pizza, you have ice cream, you're like, man, I really overate today. You're not going to magically just gain a bunch of body fat from just one day of that. Like that one day is really making such a small impact on your body fat level. It's the repeated days over and over and over that make an impact. And same thing goes for if you have one day where you nail your goals perfectly. How many times have you nailed your calories, nailed your protein, nailed your steps, your workouts, and you woke up the next morning and you really didn't feel that much leaner from just one day, right? Or you had one meal and you ate a salad or something, quote unquote, low calorie, or what you would think is quote unquote healthy. Like one day isn't going to automatically make you super lean or make you lose a bunch of weight either. It's what happens on a repeated basis. So on that side of the coin, like talking to this client, like reinforcing, hey, you might have not hit your goals on Thursday, but that doesn't have to make or break your entire week. Like you can still see really great progress throughout the week or throughout the month, even if one day is off. And I think this is really, prevalent with like the holidays around this time of year. But also on the other side of the coin, I think this mentality of thinking, oh, it's just one day, sometimes can kind of hurt people and hurt people's mentalities too. Because if you have this mentality and you take it too far of, okay, it's just one day, and then the next day rolls around and you're like, oh, okay, well, it's just one day. And then the next day rolls around and you're like, okay, well, it's just one day. Sure, it's one day at a time that you're not hitting your goals. But if that happens consistently and consecutively, then those days can't add up. And this is where the second half of this phrase kind of comes into play, where every day still counts. Even though one day won't make or break you, every day still does count towards your goal. Because there are two different scenarios here, right, that can play out. One is that you miss your goals on Thursday, and let's say you check in on Tuesday, so you have like 4 days left out of the week, and you tell yourself, well, it's just one day, but it's okay. And then you roll around on Friday, and then, you don't set the standard of hitting those goals as diligently. You don't plan things out as much, and you miss your goals on Friday, and you tell yourself, oh, it's just one day. It's okay. And then Saturday rolls around, and the same thing happens. Sunday rolls around, the same thing happens. Monday, the same thing. And then all of a sudden, you like reflect on your 7-day period, and you maybe only hit your goals Tuesday and Wednesday, and then the other 5 days out of the week, you were short because you had this mentality of, oh, it's just one day, a little too much. You embraced it a little bit on that extreme end. Whereas another scenario, another person could maybe, nail their goals Tuesday and Wednesday. Thursday rolls around, they overeat, miss their goals, and they adopt the second half of the statement where, okay, like I know one day is not going to make or break me, but I know every day still counts. So I'm going to really plan ahead, make sure whatever happened on Thursday doesn't happen again on Friday, and nail my goals on Friday. Now I'm feeling good. Now I do the same thing on Saturday because I'm feeling positive, like I nailed it on Friday, bounce back, hit your goals on Saturday. Now you have some momentum and you follow through and end the week on Sunday and Monday on a really good note, check in on Tuesday, and you review your week and think, oh, I actually hit my goals 6 out of the 7 days, right? I hit it Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday was off. I hit it Friday, Saturday, Sunday, Monday. And when you look at like the impact that makes on your progress, it's so huge because not only are you hitting your goals 6 days versus only 2, which 6 out of 7 days is probably roughly like 86% of the week you're nailing your goals, which is amazing. And hitting your goals only 2 out of the 7 is probably, off the top of my head, only like 25% of the week or somewhere around there, maybe 25 or 30. That's a big percentage change of nailing your goals 86% of the time versus nailing your goals 25% of the time. And that makes a big difference, honestly, in your progress in just 1 week. But think about that added up over multiple weeks. Like if over an 8-week span, you adopt that mentality of, okay, like one day's not going to make or break me, but I know every day counts. So I'm going to make sure I bounce back and not have 2 days in a row where I don't hit my goals and build some momentum from there. If every week, 6 out of the 7 days, you're nailing your goals for 2 months straight, and let's say you're in a fat loss phase for that month, you're probably going to lose roughly 8 to 10 pounds over those 2-month period, even though you did have one day that was a little bit off every single week, because those other days were so consistent and you made those other days count. Versus if you have that more lenient mentality of one day's not going to make or break me, but you kind of forget a little bit that second half of that phrase of every day counting, you might have 8 weeks go by where you're only hitting your goals 25% of the time. And, if you calculate that out, obviously equations aren't perfect, but to predict things, but if person A executing 86% of the time, if they lost 10 pounds in 2 months in their fat loss phase, and person B executed 25% of the time, in a 10-week span or 8-week span of being in a fat loss phase, person B probably lost like a fourth of that weight, maybe only 2 pounds, if that, depending on how like off those off days were. And that's a big difference, in a 2-month span of trying to push for fat loss, being down just a couple of pounds versus being down 8 pounds. Like if you lose 8 pounds in 2 months, you're feeling good and you're like, wow, like this is great progress. I feel like I really put a dent into my goals while like putting an effort towards it. You lose 2 pounds in eight weeks. Now, obviously, like you might have some, if you're on point, the weight on the scale might not always reflect, be perfectly, 1 pound per week on average. Sometimes you gain some muscle and that, muddies the waters a bit and you might lose only 2 pounds in 8 weeks, but like your body composition might look drastically different. So that's not the scenario I'm talking about. The scenario I'm talking about where like you just aren't hitting your goals 5 out of the 7 days of the week and you only lost 2 pounds and you really didn't see much body composition change because you were so inconsistent. And that's the difference between feeling discouraged throughout your fat loss process or fat loss journey versus feeling encouraged with it. And it just, like I said, goes back to that phrase of like, one day will not make or break you. So there's no point in beating yourself up about it and freaking out and thinking, oh, I overate, so I gained a bunch of weight last night because I had some extra wings. Like that's not happening. But every day still does count. And if you approach it with that mentality that every day still counts, you're able to bounce back so much quicker and you're able to make the most out of every single week, even if you do have 1 day or even 2 days where you do overeat. And also you can even like scale this even more and think not only every day counts, but every meal counts or every decision counts. One decision won't make or break you. If you decide to have a few slices of pizza, it is what it is. But you could also make a decision, later on in the day, if you still have some calories to work with and still have a way to hit your goals, like maybe decide to have a little bit lower calorie of a dinner and have a higher protein of a dinner and still hit your calorie and protein ranges, even though you did make one maybe not so ideal decision to have 3 slices of pizza that weren't really planned for lunch. Like, so you can even focus this even more, which would be even better, of realizing that one decision isn't going to make or break you, but every decision does count and every decision does add up. And those days or those weeks where you decide to, okay, it's Thursday and I'm checking in on Monday, instead of scrapping the whole weekend and deciding I'm going to bounce back these next 3 days, like that could be the difference between, 2 months going by and you're down 8 pounds versus 2. Or it could be the difference between 6 months going by and you're down 20 plus pounds versus being down only like 6 pounds. Like it could really be the difference between those two extremes because every single day does really add up. So just a little bit of a different perspective on that all or nothing mentality maybe, and also on just the concept of like not beating yourself up over one day. Like I never want a client or want you to beat yourself up over one day of not hitting your goals. And don't even beat yourself up, even if a whole week you don't hit your goals. Like, don't beat yourself up about this process. This process, like, it shouldn't be emotional. You're not a bad person for overeating. You're not a bad person for eating more calories than what you burn. You're not a bad person for eating more calories than what your fat loss range is. You're not a bad person for not hitting your step goal. There's no like good or bad person thing regarding this. But the reality is there are certain things you have to do to get your body to change, to see the end result you want. And if those things aren't done consistently and done enough, then you just won't get that result. So don't beat yourself up about it, but have the real talk. Okay, if I continue on with this type of behavior, will I see the end result I want? And if the answer is no, then like your behavior just has to change. And it's not a good or bad thing. It's not a bad person, good person thing. It shouldn't be a guilt thing. It should just be, here's the reality. If I keep doing this, then this is going to happen. Or if I keep doing this, then this is going to happen. Am I doing the things that's making the thing that I want to happen going to happen in the future? If not, then those behaviors have to change. And for a lot of you, it's not allowing one day to make you feel guilty to bleed into the next day and the next day, and to eliminate these like arbitrary timelines in your head of, okay, I kind of messed up half of the week, so I might as well mess up the whole week. Or I've been inconsistent for the past couple of weeks this month. I'm going to restart the first of the month or the first of the year. That mentality is what's really holding you back, because that mentality is like making you lean towards and forgetting that every day really does add up and count. And you can make the most out of these next, 6 weeks out of the year, 5 weeks out of the year, and be a couple pounds lighter, a few pounds lighter, maybe even 5 or 6 pounds lighter, or maybe at worst, maintain your weight over the holidays for the first time instead of gaining it. And the way you do that is by, like I said, not beating yourself up, not freaking out when you do have a day that you overeat, but also realizing that every day does count. So those days in between, like let me execute, especially with the holidays, because I find especially between Thanksgiving and Christmas, people are like, well, I have, two kind of celebrations or family get-togethers every single week. So like the other 5 days, I'm just going to relax and eat whatever I want, and then just, cancel out all of these types of goals of eating healthy or eating a certain way until the new year. But that's discounting the impact those other days where you don't have celebrations. Like those days can make a big impact on your results, and those days do definitely count. And I've done like challenges in the past between like Thanksgiving and Christmas where people have seen tremendous results during that time period, because they've realized, oh, this is like 4 weeks where I can really like make a good dent in my goals. And those 4 weeks, those days, even if not every day, I'm able to hit my fat loss range of calories. The days that I am able to hit do really count and add up. So hopefully this was helpful, a little bit of a mindset shift or wake up call, especially during this time of the year. Hope you guys enjoyed it, and I will see you guys in the next one.